Yo, people, welcome back to DR Sports Transfers. I'm your host to do the most and never coast, Matisse in the building. It's good to be back after yesterday's watch along. Big up the comments. How are you guys all doing today on this wonderful Sunday morning? Now, listen, let's get into it because it's Newcastle that are doing the big business, it seems. I mean, they've been a bit quiet. I expected a lot more from them up until this point. We know they got a ton of money now. They had a great end to the campaign, a brilliant calendar year since Eddie Howe came in. The new signings came in January. Maybe they're just being quite coy with their action at the moment. They want to make sure that they get good value for money in the market. They had a really good January. I think the only error that you could say they made was maybe signing Chris Wood from Burnley. He didn't really work out. I mean, they stayed up, so that's what mattered. But value for money wise, you could say that they definitely overpaid. They're looking to replace him already. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Newcastle do. Maybe they're just waiting to see as the window goes, seeing what opportunities arise, making sure that they pick the right players, etc. They've got a very good, strong squad already. They've probably got a squad that probably finishes 10th, around about 10th, 11th minimum, with Bruno Guimaraes, Trippier full season, hopefully fully fit. It's at maximum. They've got so many quality players that have been added to that team. So, anything more now, and we could be even talking about a Conference League place. You never know. Eddie Howe's a very good coach. I think he was a little bit slept on. Obviously, at Bournemouth, he did a great job. So I think Newcastle are on the up. So let's start with the first bit of news that's coming out of Newcastle is that they have been linked with Chelsea striker Timo Werner on a loan deal. Now, obviously, his wages are extremely high, 270,000 a week he makes at Chelsea. Massive contract he was put on after that incredible season he had at RB Leipzig. I think he was the third highest goal scorer in a calendar year behind Messi and Lewandowski in the same year that Chelsea got him. So he was wanted by Liverpool at the time. His stocks were really high. Now they've dropped off a bit, but he's still a German international, still a very good goal scoring record in the national team, in the Champions League, and obviously back in the Bundesliga. So not completely finished, of course, but at Chelsea, it hasn't worked out. Maybe a team that transition a bit quicker than Chelsea, a team that counter more than Chelsea. Chelsea don't really counter-attack at all. I don't think I can remember the last time I've seen Chelsea have a counter-attacking goal. If I have, it's not happened too many times. Maybe Aston Villa for Lukaku. But, maybe Timo Werner could suit Newcastle more in the fact that they might not always, dominate possession. But they are taking a look at him on a loan. I don't know if there's going to be an option to buy, an obligation to buy. We'll have to see. But it would be an interesting move. I'm not sure if it works out for him. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that 100% makes sense. I think the time that 100% makes sense for Timo Werner is a move back to the Bundesliga, a move back to Germany. He thrives there. His goal scoring record was impeccable for years and years. I don't know if the Premier League suits him, so I don't know if Newcastle is 100% the correct move. But if it happens, it's a loan deal, maybe not so much of a risk. See how much wages you guys pay in terms of the distribution there, maybe a 50%. I'm not sure. It's a lot of money that he's on. So it will be interesting. I think Newcastle should go for Hudson-Odoi instead. That's from Billy. There were some links being floated about Hudson-Odoi. My understanding of Hudson-Odoi is that he wouldn't be going because he has 2 years left on his contract. His contract runs out in 2024, along with Pulisic and a few others. And Chelsea's usual mandate, obviously we have a new ownership now, so maybe it's changed, but the usual mandate was that if you had 2 years left on your loan, you wouldn't go out on loan unless you signed a new contract, because if you had an incredible loan, then you come back with 1 year left and then negotiations become very difficult contract-wise. So unless Hudson-Odoi is to sign a new contract, then the usual mandate is that he wouldn't go out on loan with 2 years. The same happened with our youngster Harvey Vale last season, 2 years left, 1 year left now, and he didn't go out on loan despite being only 18, loads of potential, loads of promise, but they wouldn't let him go out on loan. Another reason is also that he's had a lot of injury issues, and from my understanding, the club want to look after that in-house. They don't want to send him away where the injuries may pick up again if he's not looked after in a certain way. But again, there has been links. We know Ziyech, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi are all available to some degree for exits. So we will see what happens there. But Newcastle looking active. And they also, to stay on Newcastle, Leicester City want more than 50 million for James Maddison, who is also coming into the last 2 years of his contract as well. He's been linked with a move away to Newcastle, who have apparently had a £40 million bid rejected for the 25-year-old. And Newcastle are considering putting an improved offer. So again, this would be a great signing, I think, for Newcastle. This is one that I have no doubts about. I think James Maddison is a great playmaker, brilliant chance creator. Probably what maybe Newcastle need a little bit to a degree. I mean, Bruno Guimaraes I think he's been incredible. Honestly, one of the best. I think he could be one of the best midfielders in the league next season if he's not already. Like, he is my favorite Bruno. Do you know what I'm saying? Without bringing my bias into it, he is unbelievable. And the fact that you guys got him from Lyon, I thought was a snip. And you know, the big clubs in the top six will be, you know, in terms of the top six, not in terms of stature, they will be kicking themselves that they didn't go and get Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon, because he's just been literally the perfect Premier League midfielder so far. Very impressed with him. He's got a little bit of everything. If you bring a James Maddison into that and you get a holder as well, obviously you've got Joe Linton. I think Joe Linton's been brilliant since he's gone into that midfield role as well. He was a striker and now he's a midfielder, and he's actually really good in midfield. Like, he's proper box to box, strong, good in a tackle. He's got a bit of skill to him. It's weird watching it, but it's actually really, really good. And yeah, I enjoy it. So the midfield's looking good. If you add James Maddison to that as well, then wow. I mean, that's impressive. That's very impressive. So let's take a look. Obviously, as well, Eddie Howe did not comment on any move on Maddison. He said he hopes to add to his squad before the start of the season against Nottingham Forest on the 6th of August. So again, when it comes to the squad, you know, we're just under a week away from that game. It'd be difficult to maybe get players up to speed training wise to start that game if they were to bring anyone in, but certainly involved in the squad. Also, Newcastle have made contact for Maxwell Cornet from Burnley, the 25-year-old. Yet to make an offer, but, you know, contact has been made. At least they're looking into it to see if they'll bring in the winger. I think he's very talented, very good at Burnley last season. Probably the only shining light in the attack, maybe with McNeil as well. And you'd expect him to leave for sure. Everton have been linked as well. Makes no sense for him to stay at Burnley in the Championship. He's definitely Premier League ready, definitely good enough for the Premier League. So this is another option in the forward line as well. And I definitely would say that Newcastle need another winger. They need another forward option there. They've got some maximum on one side. I definitely think you can upgrade on the other side. So let's see what happens there. Brighton will not hold any more talks as well with Manchester City in regards to selling Spanish left-back Cucurella, and will only accept an offer of at least 50 million. I'm quite surprised that they won't go to this 50 million mark. Manchester City, they've made a lot of money this summer. They need a left-back. He suits them perfectly. Maybe they see cheaper options in the market, like a Sosa at Stuttgart. If so, then you'd expect them to go for him. But in terms of Premier League ready, Brighton Player of the Year, brilliant season. He's played left side centre back in a 3. So he's shown that defensively he's got the capabilities to do the job, but also going forward, we know he's brilliant going forward, overlapping runs. I'm quite surprised that they're not going for him and just really being quite, decisive with it and just going with the 50 million, because it's not like they haven't spent 50 million on fullbacks before. You know, they've spent 50 million on Walker, you know, so not saying that he's on Walker's level yet, but, you know, if you see the potential there, they've shown before that they've got no problem spending on fullbacks. And, you know, they're saying that they rate him higher than Ben White as a player in the report as well. So that's why they're sticking to that figure. We know that Cucurella's handed in a transfer request as well. So, you know, he's handed in a transfer request. He clearly wants to go. He clearly wants to leave. So at this point, it's just down to Manchester City to meet the asking price. I don't know if there's a deadline for them to do so for Brighton. Obviously, the season starts next week. Theoretically, if you're going to bring in £50 million worth of valuation, you want to be able to go and spend that in the market as well. So Brighton will be looking at their options as to how they're going to, first of all, replace him, probably with a cheaper option, and then go and bolster their squad even more. We know that, you know, they had goal scoring issues. They did bring in a forward. Potentially, they could bring in more. So as the window goes on, the less likely you are wanting to get rid of key players like Cucurella. But I have a feeling that asking price is simply there, and if they pay it, they'll get him. But be interesting to see what move Manchester City make with that. Brighton didn't want to go up in increments. They didn't want Manchester City to keep going up in 5s, in 10s. They said, listen, 50 million or leave the table. It's as simple as that. Daniel says, Maddison isn't going anywhere at Newcastle. Just leave him alone. I mean, his contract does run out in 2024. So 2 summers, you know, to go on that. Is he going to sign a new contract? It doesn't look like it. Same with Tielemans. So he will go somewhere at some point, just maybe not this summer, but maybe it's in your best interest to get the maximum selling price now and reinvest it into your squad. I don't know. He seems like he needs a new challenge as well, but we'll see. Manchester United will make one final attempt to persuade Barcelona and Holland midfielder Frankie de Jong to sign with them this summer. Now, this saga has been going on the whole window. We know how important this position is to Manchester United. Their build-up play is absolute cheeks. I've watched them. I've watched them all season. I've seen the data. Their pass map is disgusting. From a build-up standpoint, they wanted to go down the fullback route, but they didn't really have the fullbacks to do so. Wan-Bissaka going through the middle with McTominay was basically non-existent. In terms of build-up play, they were shambles, and they need Frankie de Jong in this team. From a build-up standpoint alone, he would just transform them. But he doesn't want to join. He's made that very clear. It's a strange one for a size club of Manchester United, magnitude of Manchester United, to keep pushing for a player that seems actively not want to join your club, and has almost made it extremely clear. It's getting a little bit embarrassing, but you know, I guess if you feel like you can bring the player in, you know, players' minds can change. They can get into clubs and suddenly actually really grow to love the club, want to be there, and the whole perspective changes again. But maybe it's due to the lack of options on the market in terms of the exact profile they're looking for. We know Ten Hag knows exactly what he wants in terms of the positions, in terms of the playing styles, the profiles. I think personally, this is a player that would make a massive difference to their team. But if they can't get him, then they do need to move on. They do need to try and see what else they can find on the market, because time is running out. And like I said, in terms of playing out from the back, that's a big thing. Maybe Martinez, their new signing, could become one of the DMs. He can play in midfield. Maybe he takes the responsibility instead of going into centre back and becomes that player for them. You would still definitely say they need another player regardless, but we shall see on that front. Mikel Arteta says Arsenal are not finished in the transfer market, but he would not guarantee whether any more business would be done. And that's fair enough. Pretty understandable statement. You know, he's saying that he wants to bring in players. They are looking, but he can't guarantee if everything's going to align for them in the business sense. They are one of the biggest Premier League spenders in this window, with 5 new players brought in for around 120 million. And obviously they ended their campaign there with a 6-0 win against Sevilla. Obviously, Jesus was incredible. It would seem in that match as well. Did a crazy thing there. So we'll see with Arsenal. I think when it comes down to Arsenal, you're looking at a situation where you want to see probably more purchases come in. You know, let's be serious here. You probably need realistically 2 more players, I would say. You know, what are we doing with that left wing side? Is that enough over there with Martinelli, Marquinhos? Is he going to be a forefront in the plans? Definitely would say the midfield. You still probably would want someone to come into that midfield in terms of either a DM or an 8, whatever you guys are looking for. You was linked with Tielemans, etc. And if you get those 2 in, those 2 positions, I think you're pretty sorted. Some will say right back as well. Maybe instead, you know, you've got Tomiyasu. Maybe Cedric could be upgraded. Bellerin is, of course, needing to go. I think Bellerin is maybe holding up any move out on that right back position. You've already got 3 right backs in the squad. You wouldn't really want to make it 4 until someone leaves. But yeah, I think those are the positions you could say you would look to improve, just to really put the icing on the cake. Right now, it's a good team. Right now, it's a very, very good team. Let's say that, because Zinchenko, Jesus, Saliba, these are massive upgrades on what you had in these positions. But there's still a few more things where you'd say, let's tighten up in these areas, just in case of injury, just in case of fatigue. It's going to be a long season. You're in Europe again. You wasn't in Europe last year, so you need that extra cover. But right now, you know, it's definitely a good transfer window so far. And like I said, top spenders, so they've definitely shown that they're not here to play games. Are you worried about Arsenal and Tottenham next season could pit you for top 4? I wouldn't say I'm worried until my transfer window is concluded, because I know that we have to bring in more players, and we are trying to bring in more players. It depends. If we bring in the players that, you know, that we should and that we need to, then I won't be as worried, because there's a point where Chelsea don't have any injuries and they haven't got that Christmas grueling fixture list that they had last summer, and then obviously all of the outside factors with the club. And that Chelsea team is sitting in the top 3 quite comfortably, and in the latter stages of the Champions League. And that's not something these 2 teams can boast about at the moment. However, the tide could swing a little bit, because they've had some great recruitment. We have had good recruitment with the players that we brought in, but we haven't brought in enough. And I would say it's not really Chelsea's 11 that I'm worried about. It's more Chelsea's players after that 11 that really, really worry me. And if those players are not trusted, if those players are not good enough, then what you'll find is the players in the 11 will become fatigued. They'll be overplayed. They'll pick up injuries, and that's where Chelsea start to fall apart. So when Chelsea are at their best, they go toe-to-toe with Liverpool. They get to penalties and unfortunately lose 2 cup finals. But that's the level that they can get to. But like I said, that level can't be sustained over 38 games with the current squad. So we will see how it looks at the end of the transfer window. I'd say right now, Tottenham, of course, because of their forward line, for me, are more of a worry. I'd say they would be favourites for third. Arsenal look good, but we have to see how you juggle Europa League with Premier League. Let's see how the manager fares. Got reservations about him. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not. We'll see. It's an interesting one, but certainly, and we haven't even mentioned Man United. Are you worried about Man United? I'll pose the question back to you. How are you feeling about Manchester United? Are you worried about them for top 4? No one really speaks about them too much, it seems, for it. I don't think it's an absolute must that they have to get it, but for sure they would like to qualify for the Champions League throughout one of the routes, whether it be the Europa League or whether it be the Premier League, because that just only enhances what you can do in the transfer window. So it'll be interesting to see this race. I think the race is going to go down to probably the last 2 game weeks, as it always does. It'll be a tight race, whoever's involved, and it'll be a case of 4, maybe 3 or 4 teams fighting for the top 4 once again, as it has been for the last few years. And it doesn't really surprise me that Chelsea are in this position. We've been in this position for years, so we're always fighting on the last couple of game weeks for this position. So normal service resumes. Who do you think will win the Golden Boot? Wow, it's an interesting one. Golden Boot, I would say right now, that's a very good question. I think you always have to just give it to Salah, because Salah, he knows the league. He's done it time in, time out. The guy is just prolific when it comes to this league. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's used to the system, whereas the Haalands, the Darwin Núñez, will their game time be as high as the Salah's? Will they be rotated a little bit because they're still getting used to the teams that they're playing? Maybe so. I think Gabriel Jesus could get a lot of goals this season. It wouldn't surprise me if he was, finishing ahead of some of the big names, because he's going to get a lot of game time. He's a starter and he'll be playing every game he can. He's got a good record with injuries, so there's no issues there. Haaland sometimes does pick up an injury, so you have to look out for that. So right now you got to put on Salah, because that's just a safe bet. Kane picks up an injury. Kane always goes into that conversation, but he's also become a little bit more of a playmaker. Does that change the dynamic with Richarlison, with Kulusevski, with Son? Maybe Kane drops off a little bit more, doesn't get as many goals as he could, because he's not always in the position to score, because he's always also assisting. Son, players like that could go into the list, but it'll be interesting for sure. But Son is a brilliant finisher as well, so that's another one. Also, speaking of Manchester City with Haaland, obviously we've seen the game yesterday. I did the watching on for that. It was a brilliant game. People are already dragging Haaland on socials, but listen, I'm sure they'll sort themselves out. But with Manchester City and Bernardo Silva, I want to talk about that next, of course, as another story. Apparently, Barcelona really feel like they can take him. And from what I've read as well, Pep feels that he's happy to let Bernardo leave. Obviously, if the fee is met, the price is right, they're happy to let him go. Doesn't want to keep unhappy players, is what I saw on the report. For me, if Bernardo Silva goes to Barcelona, that's an incredible signing. It really is, because I think Bernardo Silva is probably one of the most underrated players in this league. He is perfect. For the modern day, you want technical ability, you got it. But you want somebody who can counter press, you got it. You want someone who can play multiple positions, you got it. You want somebody who can score and assist, you got it. The guy is just brilliant. He really is unbelievable. I think any team in this league, they would take him in a heartbeat. He'd walk into everybody's teams. He'd fit in at Liverpool if you were looking for that more creative 8. He walks into everybody else's team. There's no point even mentioning them. The guy is just ridiculous. He really is. And the fact that he could be leaving, or the fact that Manchester City are actually willing to let him go, I think if Man City let him go as well, then you have to have a conversation about Manchester City in terms of will they walk the league, or will they win the league as comfortably as maybe some of us would have thought when Mane left Liverpool and Núñez came in? Because, with that, you sense Mane leaving, that is already a little bit of a drop-off, because the guy was just ready-made. Up front, he was doing the business. He knows what he's doing. Núñez, you'd expect a little bit of time to adapt, although he scored yesterday. Missed a couple of chances, but he looks hungry. He looks willing. And Klopp with attackers is something that you never want to doubt, despite the profile being completely different to what they're used to. I think City, if they let go of Bernardo as well, it's just like, it's a lot of change at once. And I still have them as favourites, but you're letting go of a lot of trusted players that you can call upon constantly that do the business. They were even thinking of letting Gundogan go at the end of last season, and look at the way he saved them on the final day. You wouldn't want to let go of too many reliable players like that. Squad players like Jesus, like Sterling. Then it would be Bernardo, Zinchenko. It's a lot. It's a lot of movement. And these new guys coming in, they're under pressure because you can't just take your time and drip feed them in. Yeah, you can to a degree, but when you come onto that pitch, you still got to perform, because at the end of the day, Manchester City's aspirations are titles and titles and titles. There's no room for error. There's no room for you can come in and have a really bad day and help us drop points. No, you have to win. So it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting. If they let go of him, then I'm a little bit more shaky on City, because I think he's very underrated. But I'd be surprised if he goes still, because it's a lot of money. And we know Barcelona are still trying to get rid of the likes of Braithwaite. Jong is still in the conversation. Depay. Will these players subsidize their wages, any money they're owed, or will they just move on happy-go-lucky, or will they dig their heels in, cause a fuss, cause a fight? These are the things that Barcelona have to deal with currently. And until these things are ironed out, there surely will not be any more incomings. I think surely Koundé has to be the last one until they have exits. I don't know if they've registered all the players that they need to register as well, but it would be mad if they signed Bernardo Silva before exiting Jong, before exiting Depay, before Braithwaite, all of these names. It would be crazy. So we'll see. We shall see. Let's see what some more of the comments are saying before we come to a close. Haaland is going to bang first game of the season, and he had this amount of chances already. Listen, one thing at Manchester City with Haaland is that he's going to have loads of chances. Now, how would Haaland fare in a team that don't create as much, that don't have elite passes in behind? Then it would be maybe a different conversation. In this league, with the way that we come up against low blocks constantly as big sides, and then say you didn't have great chance creation and you were asking Haaland to do more than he can or that he should, then you could actually see Haaland have a bad or an underwhelming season. However, in that Manchester City team, there are a lot of chance creators. There are a lot of players that can put the ball right on his foot for a final finish, as we saw in the preseason game for Grealish across the box. So a lot of moments where De Bruyne got frustrated and he started to get aggravated, and he was pointing and saying, listen, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I was having a chat with Kennedy after the watch along, Manchester City fan. She was saying that Manchester City don't adapt to Haaland. Haaland needs to adapt to Manchester City. Now, I'm not so sure how or if that's going to be the case, because listen, Haaland, can he adapt to you guys? He's still young. We'll see if it works out. But the way that he's always played the game, the way that he's always got his goals, it's not been the same way you guys have been playing. It's been put that ball in behind, make it quick, make it snappy, no methodical long thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So will he adapt? Will he want to adapt as much as you guys maybe think he will? We'll see. It's going to be interesting. There'll be some teething problems maybe at the beginning, as I'm sure there will still be for Núñez and Liverpool. But whoever, I guess, adjusts the fastest will have the upper hand in the title race. I guess that's one thing to say. Whoever sorts out those teething problems, whoever adapts to their new number 9, traditional number 9, both teams didn't have one last season. Whoever adapts the fastest will have the leg up in the title race. And then if you do find that you've adapted, you could really have a striker that's banging in potentially 25 goals. So we'll see. But listen, it's been great. No foot golf comments. Beautiful. Just let it marinate. Let the chicken marinate. I saw some of you getting ahead of yourselves in the comments saying, oh, he's still dead. He's still no good. Where's the hype? What's going on? It's a Saturday. I thought I was going to see a madness. Listen, just hold on. Yeah, it's the first episode. Let the new boots, let them integrate with the grass. let the chicken marinate. You will soon see what the gas was about. But make sure you subscribe to DR Sports, smash up the likes, and yeah, pleasure as always, guys. And I'll see you guys next time for another transfer show. Big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.